On March 15, 44 BC, a group of Roman senators cornered Julius Caesar in a theater and stabbed him 23 times. Their reasoning was simple. Caesar was acting a lot like a king. To a Roman, there was no worse insult. Centuries earlier, the city had expelled a cruel tyrant named Tarquin the Proud, swearing a blood oath that Rome would never be ruled by a monarch again. The conspirators believed they were saving their republic by spilling Caesar's blood. Instead, the assassination triggered a massive, decades-long civil war that nearly tore the state apart. Stepping into this deadly power vacuum was an unlikely figure, Caesar's adopted heir, an 18-year-old named Octavian. Octavian faced an impossible math problem. To survive, he had to ruthlessly crush his rivals and win the civil war. But to actually rule the Romans afterward, he had to figure out a way to hold total authority without ever looking like the kings they despised. He started by making a pragmatic deal. Octavian formed a temporary alliance with his adoptive father's right-hand general, Mark Antony, and together they systematically hunted down Caesar's assassins. But power is hard to share. With their mutual enemies dead, Octavian and the battle-hardened Antony predictably turned their armies against one another to see who would inherit the Roman world. Octavian knew a military victory required public support, so he launched a calculated public relations campaign. He painted Antony as a compromised politician, entirely controlled by the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. This geopolitical rivalry climaxed in 31 BC at the Battle of Actium. Octavian's fleets violently collided with Antony and Cleopatra's forces, shattering their ships. The defeated couple fled to Egypt, where they both took their own lives rather than face capture. Octavian was suddenly the sole master of the Mediterranean. He had total military supremacy. But Julius Caesar had total military supremacy too, and he bled to death on the Senate floor. Brute force alone would not keep Octavian alive. When Octavian returned to Rome holding all the military cards, he made his smartest move yet. He completely refused to declare himself dictator. Instead, he put on a masterclass in political theater. He publicly turned down a golden crown, spoke deferentially to the Senate, and announced that his only ambition was to step back and restore the traditional republic. He adopted a modest new title, Princeps, which simply meant first citizen. It carried absolutely no monarchical baggage. The Roman Senate, exhausted by a century of bloodshed and desperate for any kind of stability, accepted the performance. In 27 BC, they rewarded his supposed humility with a new name, Augustus, the revered one. On the surface, the traditional republic sits at the top, with the Senate and consuls visibly in charge. But look underneath. Through legal technicalities, every line of true power, military command, tax revenue, vetoes, flowed directly downward to the princeps. The Senate got to keep their prestige, their titles, and the comforting illusion of democracy. Augustus got to build an absolute, unshakable monarchy right under their noses. The illusion held. Augustus ruled Rome for 44 years, outliving his political rivals and closing out a long, brutal era of civil conflict. What followed was the Pax Romana, or Roman peace. For roughly 2 centuries, trade flowed freely across 3 continents, cities expanded, and the empire's borders remained largely secure. He systematically redesigned the state to maintain this peace, establishing Rome's first professional standing army and creating the Praetorian Guard to personally secure the emperor. He poured wealth into the capital, later boasting that he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. He constructed sweeping public works and altars to broadcast the prosperity of his reign. The citizens were safe, well-fed, and wealthy. But the democratic institutions they had fought so hard to protect centuries earlier were quietly, permanently dead. The republic was gone, and the empire had arrived. It leaves us with a difficult historical math problem. Augustus pulled a burning civilization back from the brink of collapse, but he paid for it by masterminding the death of its democracy.